Welcome to David's Life and Observation with your host David Welch and David the Sun Devil's YouTube channel. Today's topic is Veterans Day. Happy Veterans Day to all my veterans out there. And just a quick commentary about a few things that have been in the news and a few things about Veterans Day that I've observed in the past couple of years, but I just don't think any veteran has, and I'm pretty sure someone has, but talked about Veterans Day and how some people approach it. For me, I don't mind swapping war stories as long as it's with another vet. You know what I mean? And I'm not seeing I didn't see a whole lot of action, to be quite frank. I mean, yeah, I dealt with a whole slew of things, different deployments for different things, but I was Navy, so a lot of the guys that are Army or Marines that were in the thick of the fighting and Fallujah and all that was not generally the life of a sailor. Sailors are a little bit different unless they're FMF, a corpsman or something like that, or they were an individual augmentee during that period of the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. But I mean, we were in the Middle East. We had a deal. We went to the Gulf of Oman, dealt with fast boat attacks. Guys that were there a month ahead of us, their VBSS team got blown up by a suicide bomber, things like that. Like I said, I don't mind swapping war stories, but when we're out eating and stuff like that, I've literally had people ask, not me in particular, but other veterans, like their story, and some veterans are pretty okay with divulging, but not all of them are. And it's not, I don't think it's rude, but I just don't think it's, I guess you got to know the veteran, but when you're in a place to eat and you're in a shopping area and somebody who doesn't know you, you're a veteran, or they infer that you're a veteran in some way, and then they ask you, well, what was your experience, or what did you do? And sometimes it's just hard to have that conversation. You might have dealt with some real shit and don't want to talk about it. You might have seen your friend blown up, you don't want to talk about it. I mean, there are a slew of people out there who've done multiple deployments in Iraq and Afghanistan who've seen some crazy things happen to people they loved and cared about. And here at home, people just don't quite understand it unless you're in it. You know what I mean? So when you see the veteran out there, unless they bring it up, unless they're the one just sharing the story, don't ask. Just listen. Just listen to them. Respect the fact that they went. And there are service members out there who maybe are embarrassed because they don't have a war story. Maybe they're at home sending message traffic to and from different parts of the different theaters of war, different commands, or maybe they spent their whole time at a command that had little to no action, so to speak. I mean, there are people that have been on. If you've been in the military, when I was in the military, you had people at different types of commands have different type of situations. You had the people at the medical commands and the support commands, out there, like MSC Pack or NAVC Pack or whatever the hell they call them. The support ships, like the ship I was on, we gave fuel, food, and mail and things of that nature to ships that were underway. That was my first ship, so it was just a different platform of warfighting ship that had civilians on it, so it was just different. The medical ships had to deal with different things too. They had to deal with the tsunami relief effort, which other ships in different commands were a part of, or you had to deal with back to back hurricanes. So like I did, like I got on my first ship in Pascagoula, Mississippi, and then it was Hurricane Dennis, and then Hurricane Katrina, and then after Katrina, it was Ophelia, and then Wilma. So it was back to back hurricanes and running from hurricanes. And those were the kinds of things that we dealt with, but we didn't necessarily have blood and guts, gory stories, unless it's from the aftermath of Katrina, which a lot of people can sympathize and empathize with, or the aftermath of a hurricane, which a lot of people in, especially the South, have in the Gulf region have dealt with. So it's, one of those things. So some people have that type of history, but they don't feel themselves that, I need to be thanked for, a service that they may not necessarily believe now, but they may believe later that was, worth that kind of recognition. So it's tough for veterans sometimes to get that question. Well, what did you do? And then, maybe you think your career wasn't exactly spectacular. Mine was full. Like I had a great time on the Navy wrestling team. I got to do a lot of traveling, been a lot of places, different deployments for different reasons. I did a hurricane deployment where I ran from hurricanes, a lot. So it was just different experience for me that other people may not have had, right? Or somebody's a veteran that had, an injury on a ship that they never really, got to do a deployment. They never really got to do things, but they got injured and they had a medical out. They're still a veteran. They're still, part of the veteran community. So, I mean, it's just hard when you ask someone what they did, especially, if they're like a combat Marine or they're a combat infantryman and they've seen some gory, gnarly, or especially if they're special warfare. You got guys out there that were special warfare that did and saw hair-raising stuff, and they're not ready at this point in time to share their stories, or if they are, be an ear and listen, and appreciate the fact that you may be the only person that they ever share this with. So that's just my 2 piece on Veterans Day. On Veterans Day, when it comes to the meals, like there's some great deals out there for veterans. Take advantage of them. I mean, we went to IHOP this morning, got my 3-stack pancakes, which isn't quite a meal. I know Denny's had the Grand Slam. I think next year I'm doing Denny's, quite honestly, because Grand Slam was better than 3 pancakes. To be honest with you, IHOP, you need to step up your game. Just saying. Anyways, but Red Robin, Olive Garden, I mean, there's a ton. Golden Corral had a ton of good stuff out there for veterans, and it's great to take advantage. And there's all slew a manner of different industries that have sales and things going on right now for Veterans Day. So I definitely say take advantage of those as a veteran. And then one thing we got to kind of keep our eyes out for is stolen valor. You'll notice them quick. A lot of people who were in the service notice them quick because they recognize that their uniform, or if they put on the uniform, or their experiences don't add up, or they can't name specific locations. They can't name. Sometimes people have been out of the service. To them, it was a whole nother life ago. You know what I mean? So it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to spot stolen valor, but when you really spot it, sometimes it's glaring. And I've seen 2 ways to deal with stolen valor. I do it this way. I kind of, politely let them know, hey, what they're doing, I feel is wrong. That you're trying to, steal valor from those who really went and did the thing, and please change out of the uniform. Then there's the other guys who have been like, get the hell out of my uniform, SOB, or, so there's different ways to go about it. You may be dealing with somebody who has mental illness and then being agitated or dealing with that person in a negative way may have a negative outcome for you. So, take it how it is. Yes, you may be enraged the fact that they dare put on a uniform that you proudly wore, but at the same time, they may have serious mental health issues that you're not considering, or you do understand because of the fact that they dared to put on the uniform in the first place and then flat out lie about their service or any service. When, like we've seen guys who put on like 2 different type of uniforms together and tried to, get a free meal. They have a mental illness that they're dealing with, or they one guy was wearing his son's uniform because he was proud. He was a proud dad, and he just, took advantage of his son's service and said it was his own and things like that. You've had those out there. So stolen valor, just be mindful that you're dealing with people who have probably a mental illness, and use tact in dealing with them. Yeah, they're going to be unyielding in their stories. They're going to make up lie after lie after lie after lie, and it's hogwash. But it is what it is. You have to handle it the best way you can, and like I said, let them know that what they're doing may come off the wrong way with other veterans. And if you're the veteran that is the hothead type and you want to go after that person in some sort of way, remember that if you're not protected, you're not somebody who's going to be handled with kid gloves when it comes down to assault and things like that, because at the end of the day, that's what you're doing if you're trying to put hands on anybody. Be careful tonight. There are some really, really idiot drivers out there. There are people that are consuming way too much alcohol tonight, so be careful. Any holiday, we're leading up to Thanksgiving, we're leading up to Christmas. Be mindful that the people on the roads aren't necessarily the best on the roads, and especially if you live in the north or somewhere with snow, there's already a 10% increase, a chance that you're going to get fucked up because somebody slips on some ice and drives their car into you. So be mindful of what is occurring around you. Moving forward from that, Jeffrey Epstein did not kill himself. I'm glad that there was the hot mic issue in the news, which is fantastic that was brought to light. Should the NBC staffer, whoever leaked it, be fired? I don't think so, because it's just like a whistleblower. And why is it that companies hate the fact that somebody calls them on their integrity? So that's what happened, is somebody released something that, with journalistic integrity, you should have released 3 fucking years ago. We are making Alex Jones look hella good right now. And there's some people that don't like Alex Jones. But this dude was talking about Epstein 4 or 5 years ago. He was right. He was talking about Pedophile Island. He was talking about that whole shebang and how, there's all these girls being, mishandled, and he was dead on with the Clintons and everything. He was right. And people want to criticize that dude. People want to say, this, that, and the other. But at the end of the day, y'all made Alex Jones look like a fucking hero, because not only was he right, but he was spot fucking on. If you go back and look at, maybe not exactly how he portrayed it, but the content of what he said was true about Epstein and the entire elite class, having this pedophile ring that they have. And it's coming true. Yes, they should release all 1,000 names in that report, because it is important to know who's included. It's going to be the who's who of rich and powerful. It's going to be Bill and Melinda Gates. It's going to be Bill and Hillary Clinton. It's going to be high people in a lot of high places. And it's going to be fucking amazing. And it's amazing to me that the Department of Justice has these names. And then the ABC has the tapes and the transcripts of the original content, and they're not releasing it. Not the fact that they're more upset with the person who leaked it than the fact that their journalistic integrity goes out the window for not releasing it. When they had the story, they had the information. They made themselves look... And then the royal family looks hella fucking guilty. You guys look hella fucking guilty and hella wrong for going after ABC when they had a story that implicated one of your royals. Yo, scandal it may be, but you gotta... Now it's gonna be out, you guys are gonna deal with that shit even on a different level. Because the UK has a big problem with freedom right now. They've never been a freedom country. They've never really been a free country. They're not even a real sovereign nation anymore. Like the UK, and I love my British and United Kingdom friends and family. I really do. I love you guys. However, y'all need to get your head on straight about a lot of things. You have You have people in your country who aren't free. You have you were torturing the shit out of Assange for releasing information that was given to him. He's more of the person putting it through a medium versus the person who was the actual whistleblower. And yeah, do you hate the fact that he threw your ass country and the allies under the bus with all the shit that they're doing? Yeah, you're pissed off, but that should have come to light. Now the American people and the United Kingdom knows about the dirt that y'all did, and now it's gonna be your comeuppance. You know, like even so, nobody stormed the Bastille. Nobody stormed into the fucking palace and hung you motherfuckers, which they very well could. You have you have a lot of law enforcement in the UK who are becoming very American in the sense that they're detaining people without cause. Their whole mission and scheme is very militaristic and how they handle people. They just want people's details without probable cause or even a law broken. I mean, this sounds eerily familiar. You guys are becoming exactly what you fought against in World War II. Very fascistic. You didn't like how the Nazis were doing things, but you're following in their goose steps, just like America. You're following right in line with the goose step, right in line. You're doing everything that you fought against in World War II. You're becoming a fascist, terror-ridden country, just like America is, because the only thing on the news is bullshit. The mainstream media, you all fell off. It's independent journalists that are sinking you guys. The independent journalists are fucking up the mainstream media, and it's hilarious. It's super funny. The fact that the mainstream or lamestream media, as we call it, is falling off. And you make Donald Trump right because now he can legitimately call you guys fake ass news because you guys aren't releasing critical information when you have it. That just proves you had a story 3 years ago on Epstein before all this debacle, and now it's come to light that him calling ABC, NBC, and all you guys fake news is legit. You guys can't be legitimate news if you are not reporting the stories. You have to go back to Walter Cronkite type of fucking news. Spit the facts as you have them. Double check your sources, have reliable sources, and go from there, and then publish your information. But it's what news has become on the mainstream is a bunch of gossiping hens talking about theories and opinions and parties and Democrats are this and Republicans are this or liberal this and conservative that. Like, when did the news become that instead of just spitting the facts? Spit the facts and get the fuck off the air. There's more shit to watch. Trying to make you guys relevant. It's insane. Cover more stuff. Hire more journalists. You know, don't be afraid to go places and do things that a real journalist would do. That's why independent journalists on YouTube are killing the game. They are. You got guys that are putting out these stories, these videos, and the public officials are hating them because it shows more corruption. They catch more corruption in one video in their one interaction with law enforcement and public officials and going to courthouses and confronting judges and confronting politicians than you guys do in your entire fucking organization. Backed by Disney is what I'll call you guys. You just have to understand that your way of journalism is poisoning America. It's, you know, you're making all these boomers mad because you're freaking them out. Everything you say is vitriol towards the millennials, vitriol towards any sort of idea that they're having it rough, and you sidestep the fact that especially the boomers and especially Generation X had a lot of things that were easier or at a slower pace or at a lesser dollar amount than what the millennials and zennials are dealing with. And I read an article that talked about how someone sees "okay boomer" as derogatory as the N-word to black people. No, Absolutely not. No. Okay, boomers is kind of like, okay, old guy. That's essentially what it is. All right, okay, old woman. That it's kind of it's kind of recognizing, and all it does is it recognizes that your arguments and your position is way the hell out of touch with what's going on in real people's lives, because the old fuddy-duddy geriatric congressman, and sorry, Bernie Sanders, you are in that mix. You're a boomer, dude. You are in that mix. Regardless of how progressive and how up to date your thinking is, which I agree with a lot of what you say, not everything, but a lot of what you say. When somebody uses that, okay, boomer, they're referring to your generation as being well out of touch. And the reason it works so well on congressmen and senators because it's true. They are so far out of touch with their constituents and people because they don't live the same life. They have an elevated existence. They have millions of dollars coming in from speaking engagements and the different lobbyists are giving them trillions or millions of dollars, trillions collectively, to these congressmen and senators, and they're getting rich and fat and happy off of it when the American people are fucking suffering. Or, like we can't even. I saw an article and a news clip today where people can't even afford a 2-bedroom apartment. People just don't make. If you make minimum wage in this country, you have to have 3 or 4 jobs. It's just the way it works. You cannot afford a 2-bedroom apartment on minimum wage. And minimum wage is never meant for that, But a lot of people are throwing shade at people for not having school or skills. But there's a lot of people that do have that, and they're still not getting the jobs because. And this is something that I've recognized a lot of veterans go through, me myself included, is employers will look at your military service and be like, and what else? Because they're not understanding what it is you did. Even if you spell it out for them, they don't care. If you don't have specific industry experience from a name that they recognize, they almost do not care about your military service, or they sidestep the fact that you do have managerial experience. They sidestep the fact that you do have experience handling logistics or $1 billion worth of equipment. They don't care because they're going to throw you into a lower level job, and they're gonna pigeonhole you as somebody who is average Joe citizen with no experience because you don't have their specific industry experience, or even if it's experience in like support of logistics, they don't recognize or will not recognize your military service because they don't have a concept of what you did. They'll never have an understanding of it because they're not going to know. And you can say as much in an interview. You can say, hey, this is what I did. I handled this. I did message traffic for this, and I wrote up jobs. This is how I did everything. And it may make you look like a superstar, but you're still going to get the entry level position. You're not going to, regardless of the degrees you have, regardless of almost anything, you're still going to get put in an entry level position because companies are having advantages right now by cycling through the entry level people. People who get to managerial positions hold on to that position with dear life because they know that they can lose it, and then go back to the bottom rung of another company, and that happens all too often. So veterans, before you leave the service, and this is our service members, before you leave the service, and veterans too, not only do you have to have schooling, but get your certifications, get those blue collar skills under your belt too, electricians, any trade things that you can get, any certs that you can get to further exemplify your ability to be a jack of all trades, because essentially that's what you need to be in order to make it in this country nowadays. And the disconnect between, let's say, average Joe citizen and congressmen is congressmen still think it's, you graduate college, you go get a job in your industry or even out of your industry, you work at that same job for 30 years, get a pension, retire. It's not that way anymore. They grew up in that generation. They grew up in the generation where you could still work at a company for 30 years and get a pension from them, But that just does not exist. That doesn't work anymore. That does not exist for the majority of employment out there, unless you're a police officer, unless you work for the government. The government's the only one now who has pensions, and they're gonna go away from that in the future, unless it's for congressmen only. It's gonna be for congressmen and the president, and but staff, they're gonna be like the general public, where they're gonna be, hey, we're gonna sign you up for get you your own retirement plan, but we're not going to have a pension for you. Like at the end of 20 years, it's whatever you save. So that whole idea that you can retire and get a pension, they're trying to do away with that from the military. They're trying to say, well, instead of 20 years, you're not going to get a pension. They're trying to take, say, hey, you're going to do 20 years, and then, once you reach 65, then they're going to release your pension to you. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to move that direction. They're trying to screw people who serve their time and have a gazillion ailments by the time you hit the 20 years out of the money or the pension that's due to them. And a lot of people that work in the civilian sector be like, why do we owe you this pension for the rest of your life when, you've only served 20 years? Like, I've worked 20 years on my job. You don't see me fucking crying for a pension. But it's these white collar people that have never done what a service member does. If you're in 11 Bravo in the Army and you've done 20 years, you are going to be a banged up piece of furniture when you get out of the service. And you're going to need a lot of assistance, because that transition, the reason there are 22 suicides a day with veterans, the casualty number that's actually bigger than the ones over in Iraq and Afghanistan right now, you can almost double those numbers by the amount of GIs that come home and kill themselves because they can't win anywhere. They can't get a win. They can't get a job. They can't, they have PTSD, so they can't maintain healthy relationships. And then the VA doesn't help, because the VA will fuck up your appointments. The VA will, send you to the wrong area, or say, hey, all your ailments are not service connected. Like, yo, you don't wake up, you don't join the service deaf, blind, and limbs missing, and all these other things that have, broken bones and stuff that occurred in the service. And here's the problem: a lot of service members don't get a lot of stuff documented because their commands don't really allow for it. They really don't. And here's what I mean by that. If you're, like, let's say you suffered, a broken collarbone. Yeah, you're gonna get seen. That's gonna be documented in your service record, but it could be 15, 20 years, and you still have a decent range of motion when you get out. So they'll say, oh, well, there's nothing wrong with you, and then move the fuck on, and then not give that to you until you raise hell about it later on down the road, and then they finally give you your service connected disability when it's something that may not affect you now, but you're gonna have the range of motion problems later on. Guarantee you. And it's hearing problems, it's breathing problems, it's all sorts of things that affect you later on down the road. It's not right when you get out. Some people do their 5 years, they feel fit as a horse, but they're more banged up than they let on. Or they got an NCO that's like, yo, the hell are you going to medical for? Like, so what if you got bronchitis? You need to get your ass back into formation, and let's get this going. Slam a rip it and let's go. Or, hey, you better unfuck the sickness because we need you to do your job. And that's the way NCOs treat their underlings. And NCOs, man, if you finally make NCO, you're getting your ass chewed by senior NCOs and officers like, yo, why ain't this report done yet? Why ain't this? Why ain't that? And you're like, yo, I got a family, I'm sick, I'm not doing well. They don't care, especially if it's a mental health issue. The command does not give a flying. They don't care. They'll curse you, they'll spit you up and chew you out. And then because you didn't get it extremely documented, the medical people are going to be like, well, how are you going to claim this as service connected when you don't have any documentation during your term of service? Even though you dealt with everything that led up to that diagnosis from the service. It's like PTSD. You don't document fucking PTSD while you're in, unless you've immediately come back from Iraq and Afghanistan. And you're talking about, oh, I'm having nightmares, this and the other. And yeah, you can start your paper trail then. But it's generally people who do a whole deployment or a couple deployments, get out after 4 to 5 years, and they're like, I can't sleep. I walk into a a building, and I already know all the exits and entrances. I know 15 different ways to kill people in here. That they're still wired. Anyways, I digress. But yeah, the VA screws people. The VA is screwing veterans right now. Now, to be fair, totally fair, the VA has improved. Like the Texas VA in Waco, the Texas VA in Waco, they took care of me. I had a great experience with the VA here. The Phoenix VA, y'all suck. You're all terrible. You guys are a sham. And there's a reason motherfucker lit himself on fire in front of the Phoenix VA, because they are terrible. Their scheduling is terrible. Their doctors and nurses are shit. Like, they just have bad staff all the fucking way around. They're not improving. People are still having problems going to that clinic and getting proper services and proper documentation. Take it how it is. I've had bad experiences. Myself went to the Phoenix VA for an exam, and I had my kids with me. Went to the area they told me to go to at the information desk, and when I got there, checked in, staff was like, okay, cool, you're gonna be seen in like 30 minutes, your appointment, great. Hour passes by, hey, another person comes on shift, hey, let me check your information. Oh, by the way, you're supposed to be upstairs at this one spot. You're in the wrong area, and by then your appointment's already passed and you're a no-show. And I had 2 toddlers. So it's like, yo. And then I go out there and try and explain the situation to the doctor. Doctor don't have time for you. They don't. They don't have time. They don't have time to listen to your story. The staff don't have time to listen to your story. Their thing is, okay, let's just get you rescheduled for a different day, a different time, and you're not going to get seen that day. Or if you do get seen, it's 5 hours later and you still have toddlers. You just can't do it. You already took time off of work. You already took time off of your day to go to the VA, and on their schedule. And it doesn't matter. So there are situations where service members, they get hired at a job. Job will tell you, hey, if you miss a day in this first 90 days, that's it, you're done. Well, if the VA schedules you an appointment in those first 90 days, you just lost the job. And if you explain to the VA will be like, well, that's the date we have available. That's the date the doctor can see you. Suck it up, buttercup. You either get your appointment or you're a no-show for your appointment, and then they hold that shit against you because they're like less reluctant to deal with you. So, anyways, I say happy Veterans Day. Be cautious on how you engage veterans today. Be mindful of the fact that they may not want to share their story. Or if they are sharing their story, just listen. Stolen valor is a real issue, but be tactful in how you deal with people who have or using someone's valor or stealing valor. Be mindful of that. Epstein didn't kill himself, and Alex Jones was right on that issue. ABC and NBC, you have no journalistic integrity. You guys should just close down your building and fire all your journalists because you're trash. That's pretty much the segment for today. I hope everybody's having a good day. Hopefully you ate somewhere cool. Have a good experience. All the restaurants are going to be packed tonight, guys and gals. It's just the tail of the tape. If more mom and pop shops, food outlets and stuff have more deals, that spreads the veterans out and it doesn't clog all the areas. So if you're a business and you want a lot of business, because you can have a specific menu for the veterans, but they're going to bring their family. Their family's going to eat and they're going to pay. So it'd be smart for businesses out there to open themselves up to Veterans Day and advertise as such. Just a helpful hint there. Again, thank you for tuning into David's Life and Observation, David the Sun Devils YouTube, and have a great day.